Yeah, everything President Obama has tried to do has been greeted by his opponents with the word socialism. We had a debate last year, young Republicans versus young Democrats, and they kept throwing out the word socialism. And I turned to them, I have an economics degree, and I asked them, can you please define socialism for me? And nobody has the pure definition of socialism. What socialism is when you have government control of the means of production. We're not talking about socializing the medical industry. Hospitals will still be independent. Doctors will still run their own practices. We're not moving them onto government payroll. What we're talking about here is reforming the way we pay for healthcare. We're talking about making sure that people who don't have coverage, or for people who are losing their coverage, that they get covered. We're talking about reducing the costs of administering healthcare.
I think the word socialism has been batted around a lot in politics recently. I think it's kind of a buzzword. Like, people will say right-winger, neocon, people will say socialist, communist, liberal, leftist, rightist, And I think those become these political football words that kind of lose meaning to a certain degree. And we're not a pure capitalist system either. We have socialist aspects to our government, Social Security, some certain instances of. We have socialized medicine. I think people don't necessarily realize that too. To a certain degree, there's Veterans Administration is a socialized medicine program that we pay for veterans that can't afford care or don't have any kind of option in the sense of insurance. So, I think, yes, I think, in many government programs there is socialism to a degree, which is the collective paying for something for certain individuals. And not, not necessarily evenly distributed, because a lot of our programs will help people that are maybe in need, or like unemployment and things, where, you paid into the system, but you may not have used it. And Social Security, we're paying, maybe it takes right now maybe 3 people to pay for one person that's not retired, and frighteningly enough, that's shrinking. So I think it's not necessarily a complete socialist, entity. I mean, it could turn into that if there's not certain precautions taken and certain things outlined in the bills that produce this. I think, and that's something people have to be very careful about.
But I think we just gotta start looking at what helps the country in general, but not only a few people, which is like he puts it, the capitalists in general that are making all this money, but then you have 40-something, I think 41 million Americans without health care. It's just not right, If you go to France, I was just in Paris a few weeks ago, they don't worry about health care too much because everybody's covered. The same thing in Canada. If those countries can do it, what is the holdup for us?
What would you say to someone who says that that's kind of a socialist idea, and it's the government taking over what should be, a private industry in a capitalist country?
Well, maybe it is kind of like socialism, but the fact of the matter is, health care is more or less like a demand. Everybody needs health care, and the people that's poor, they don't have the knowledge to go to the government and go through their constitution in their country to be able to say, I want this. Now, this is more than just a political aspect. The common man not having the knowledge to be able to demand what he needs to live or to survive is in a position where there's really nothing he can say because it's a legal factor involved. Now, in the Constitution in the United States, they got certain rules. One of them is abuse of power. Abuse of power is not only in America, it's all over the world based on especially health care. Now, I could go into this a little further than that, but abuse of power is the main factor of what this is about.
You mentioned that some people might consider that program socialism. What was your response to such a comment?
I think it's ridiculous. Like, Australia idolizes America pretty much. My brother lives there, and they're not a socialist country. I mean, I think the word socialist has become like a four-letter word in this country. But if you look, when we invaded Cuba, when they were a socialist country, they were fine. I don't know. I mean, I can see what the bad against socialism is, but I don't know. People would think I'm a martyr for thinking that's necessarily not that bad. But if people are happy, if your country is thriving and they go on to call it socialism, I don't see how that's a bad thing.
How would you respond to someone who says that the ideas you just expressed are kind of a socialist mentality and that it's the way we're heading for this country?
Oh, I love that. That's funny.
That's funny?
Yeah, it's funny.
That's okay.
It's just... Yeah, that's a lot of thoughts that I have to put together all in